Hi, it's Jason from iChoice. I'm here to make a segment for first home buyers today. A lot of people think that we specialise at iChoice in medical professionals and medium-sized businesses, which is absolutely the case, but we get a great deal of satisfaction out of helping first home buyers avoid really simple mistakes that they make and giving them really valuable information. Today I just want to talk about the dangers of pre-approvals. Now, a pre-approval is something that you apply for through a mortgage broker, where a lot of buyers think that the pre-approval means that subject to the valuation of the property, you have been given a tick of approval by the bank. Now, that's often the case. That generally is what a pre-approval is. We call it an AIP, which stands for an approval in principle. But a few things to worry about. Sometimes a pre-approval only lasts 6 months. Now, if you buy something off the plan 6 months later, things can change. If you're, say, borrowing 80% against the value of a property, and in 6 or 8 months or 12 months, when the bank sends a valuer out there, if the valuation doesn't value up for whatever reason, because we don't know in the future what something's going to value for, the LVR will be higher and it will need reapproval. So in that instance, your approval in principle doesn't really mean much. Now, not only that, I wanted to talk about something else, and that's concentration issues. So let's say you're buying an apartment of a block of 40 apartments. If the Westpac St George Group have already done 20 approvals for that building, they might actually ban that building from any more lending. Now, you won't know that when you apply for the pre-approval, but come to the point when we go to send a valuation, often the bank system won't even let us order it. And that's the Westpac St George Group have a security register. If you're unsure about it, let us know. We can quickly search the register and tell you if there's going to be any issues. And that doesn't mean the bank has a problem with those apartments or that area or that suburb. It just means that they're overexposed in one building, and that can be an issue. When it comes to lending, we always talk about the 3 C's of lending: collateral, capacity to service, and character. Also, let's just one more point on the collateral, is when a mortgage broker applies for a loan for you to buy an investment property, we do put in an assumed rental income. So if you're buying something for $1 million, we might put in an assumed rental income of $800 per week. Now, when it comes time for that approval to actually take place and time for the valuation to get done, if the bank's valuer comes back and tells us that his estimate of what the rental achieved could be is $600, again, your pre-approval doesn't mean much and it needs to be reassessed. If you're buying a second-hand property and the valuer comes back and says it's unlivable or it doesn't have a kitchen, he might put a assumed rental figure of 0. And we've come across that. One of the solutions to get around that is to extend the settlement period and quickly go in and build a kitchen so the place becomes livable, and then get the valuer to adjust his report to say, yes, it can now achieve this much as rent. A couple of other things that can bite you. Sometimes you buy a house and some power lines are nearby, and certain banks will say no. So look, in these instances, there's always other lenders that we can go to. There's always other lenders that are going to have an easier servicing calculator than the one we got you pre-approved with. But I'm just making you aware that a pre-approval can sometimes not be worth much more than the piece of paper it's written on. If you buy a place a year out and you get a pre-approval, but you're not buying for a year or 3 months, your situation can change. If you've got married or had a child or lost your job or got sick in the meantime, it changes everything. If the bank's hung their hat on the overtime that you've demonstrated over the last 3 months or 12 months, well, if that isn't carried on in the next 6 months, your pre-approval again is worthless. So a couple of other things, mainly if your situation has changed, that can really change the pre-approval. So the longer the term from when you get a pre-approval to the settlement, obviously there's more chance of that happening. And if your mortgage broker hasn't talked to you about the assumed rental income they use, ask them, what number did you plug in the system, so I make sure that you're not being a bit too gung-ho about it and it's going to bite me a little bit later on. Another thing is the bank's policies can change. So we had a strange situation recently where, as you probably know, the banks and with APRA's involvement, the banks are assuming a higher living expense in the little calculation when they calculate what you can afford. Well, if you buy something 6 months out from settlement, in 3 months' time, when we go to send the valuer out there, the living expenses they assume that you have, no matter what you declare, might be $1,000 a month higher. In that case, again, the pre-approval is not worth anything. So guys, I just want you to be aware of these risks. There's nothing at all wrong with pre-approvals. What a pre-approval means, it is based on your current situation, based on the bank's current policy, based on the valuation, and based on nothing else changing. The bank should be in a position to formalise the approval and give you an unconditional approval at the time. But there's no guarantee, so make sure you deal with people who at least make you aware of these risks. And my best advice is during the pre-approval process, don't do anything too crazy and keep in touch with your mortgage broker. Thanks for watching.